everyone, this is Jim Biringer here, Full Press NHL. Please smash that notification button, hit that bell, like this video, comment below. Thank you to Hockey XP for sponsoring us, for giving us some love yesterday on our video, linked above, talking about Evander Kane going to the Vancouver Canucks from the Edmonton Oilers. But today we are back and we're talking about the Buffalo Sabres. And what are the Buffalo Sabres even doing anymore? What is Kevyn Adams doing? You know, when you're a Yankee fan and you grow up and you talk about Joe Torre, yeah, he's one of the best managers in the game. But you had to scratch your head sometimes to say, what is Joe Torre doing? We're doing that with Aaron Boone right now with New York Yankees too. What is Aaron Boone thinking? What is Brian Cashman doing? But in Buffalo, they're saying, what is Kevyn Adams doing? They were saying that about Tim Murray, Jason Botterill. But they're even saying it about the owner too, Terry Pegula. What are you doing? Why are you hiring these guys? Especially a guy like Kevyn Adams, as Dennis Bernstein in the fourth period said on a previous episode of the Full Press NHL podcast, linked above. You hired a guy from your business side of things. He was hiring finances. He was just doing finances for the Buffalo Sabres. He wasn't handling player personnel. He didn't make all those decisions. Say I was a player, that doesn't mean it's going to correlate. We've seen guys that are great players don't make great coaches or managers. We're seeing it right now. Some guys are just in over their head. And Kevyn Adams, again, words, what you say matter. It is. Buffalo has not made the playoffs in 14 seasons. Going back to last year, I said on Full Press NHL podcast and on numerous spots, including Rod Peterson, SiriusXM NHL Network Radio, and other numerous outlets that I'm on, including Sportsnet Radio up in Calgary, that the Buffalo Sabres would likely miss the playoffs for 15 straight seasons. That's going to happen next year. And I love my fans in Buffalo. I love everybody in Buffalo. I love Buffalo Sabres hockey. I hope they get to the playoffs. And like Kevyn Adams says, I feel bad for the Buffalo Sabres fans. I do, because of the ineptitude of this team to make the playoffs. The managers, the coaching decisions, not letting prospects thrive in Buffalo. I mean, you just sent a 23-year-old J.J. Peterka, who's only getting better, to the Utah Mammoth for Michael Kesselring and Josh Doan. Kesselring is going to be fine. He's going to fit into the right side. They need a right shot defenseman. David Calabret and I have been talking about this on Full Press NHL when we've discussed Bo Byram trades or Dylan Cousins trades or even Peterka trades. They said they need a right shot defenseman. You know, we mentioned Simone Nemec from the Devils, Casey as well from New Jersey. They need a right shot defenseman. They get that in Kesselring. He's going to be fine. Buffalo Sabres will be fine with that. Josh Doan will turn into a great young player, but they got to let him thrive down in the AHL first and let him develop, similar with Jack Quinn. The makeup of the Buffalo Sabres has to change because the losing culture has to stop in Buffalo. But it's starting with the general manager because of what he says. Go back Tuesday before the trade of Peterka. He doesn't want to answer questions about Peterka. He calls everything misinformation. That's not what a general manager is supposed to do. And I don't like the term misinformation because, as somebody told me, when a team talks about doing something and the team publicly denies it, that means something happened and was discussed, similar to Matthias Samuelsson buyout or trade that could happen with Samuelsson, as Mike Straw of Mike Straw Media joined the Full Press NHL podcast as well. Said the same thing. Samuelsson is a guy that they can move. And when you get a 1/3 buyout window because he's under 25, it's really good business to do if you're the Buffalo Sabres. But there's hesitation from the Buffalo Sabres to trade these players. And everybody's going to say the return isn't great for Peterka. Well, guess what? He needed to go. He wanted to go. He didn't want to stay. He knew he wasn't going to get the role under Lindy Ruff. And that, again, goes back to Kevyn Adams. Why are we bringing back somebody from the past when things aren't working right now? Lindy Ruff, his time passed in Buffalo. He made the playoffs there with Buffalo. Darcy Regier and Tim Murray, it's great. Buffalo Sabres, 2011, last time they made the playoffs. Lindy Ruff stops in New York, Dallas, New Jersey. Didn't really work out. They got to go in a different direction. Thought Don Granato did a good job in Buffalo. But again, situations by the general manager, by the team, were not handled properly. Let's go back to Jack Eichel. We talk about Jack Eichel, the neck surgery. They didn't believe he should get it. He was very adamant in getting it. Then he demands a trade, goes to Vegas, wins the Stanley Cup. One player gone. Ryan O'Reilly did not like the culture in Buffalo. Said it hurt his mental health. He didn't like losing. Goes to St. Louis, wins the Stanley Cup. Sam Reinhart leaves Buffalo, wins the Stanley Cup in Florida, gets traded there. Kyle Pozo goes there, trade deadline acquisition by the Panthers, wins the Stanley Cup. Casey Middlestad. Now the jury's still out on Casey Middlestad, but that's another prospect that they rushed along that didn't give time to develop. He's up in Boston now. Brandon Montour, Jake McCabe, Victor Olofsson, Evan Rodriguez, Linus Ullmark, just to name a few guys that have left the Buffalo Sabres and have found success. Their list is 3-4 pages long of guys that have left Buffalo and found success. And yes, there was a hesitancy to trade JJ Peterka by the Buffalo Sabres because they didn't really want to do it. But Terry Pegula gave the okay. And maybe that's part of the problem too in Buffalo is the owner not hiring the right people after he got rid of Darcy Regier as the general manager. Everything he's touched with the Buffalo Sabres has not worked. Buffalo Bills, different story. Again, two different sports. You build a team differently. You have an all-star quarterback, elite quarterback like Josh Allen in Buffalo. You build around that team. Salary cap's different too. But when you get number one picks like Owen Power and Rasmus Dahlin on D, things are set. And Kesselring will slide in with Power, and they'll have a good top 4 defenseman there. But the way they play, the losing culture, again, calling things misinformation when they didn't happen. It goes back to the palm tree comments. Oh, we don't have enough palm trees here to attract players. Taxes are too high. It's a problem for players. Players have Buffalo on their no-trade list. No, players have Buffalo on their no-trade list because they don't win. And that's the problem in Buffalo. They get so close one season, and then they do the same thing Buffalo does every year. Start off bad or start off good, go on a major losing streak, get out of the playoff picture, go on this nice run where you think there's belief that they could do it, fall short. You're like, oh, next year will be the year because they'll carry it over. And it never happens in Buffalo. And that's the problem. And that's why you heard names like Bo Byram, RFA. He's probably going to get moved. They probably get a top 6 forward for him, right? That's how it works. They trade a forward, got a D. Maybe they'll trade a D, get a forward. That's what's going to happen in Buffalo. It's going to be interesting to see what happens because the Buffalo Sabres need to change something. And it's interesting to see that Buffalo has this acceptance of losing. Dahlin's tired of it. Tage Thompson's tired of it. You look at Owen Power's tired of it. Peterka's tired of it. All these guys are tired of it. Alex Tuck's name's out there. Indications are he's going to stay. Tage Thompson's name was out there, but he wants to stay. And look, bringing in Kesselring and Doan, 2 guys that played with Thompson for Team USA at the World Championships. Team USA wins gold. So did Thompson have a role in this trade? Probably not, but it helps to have that culture of winning there. And Thompson will be on Team USA Olympic team and all that. But the Buffalo Sabres just have not been able to get it right since the mid-2000s, right? You had that young group that was able to use that lockout season that worked together in the AHL and with Danny Briere and Jason Pominville and Chris Drury and all those guys, they were able to play well together. And instead, what do we get? The Buffalo Sabres are what the Buffalo Sabres are. And, Ryan Miller, they came so close. If it wasn't for the Sakara sickness, maybe the Buffalo Sabres get to the Stanley Cup final in 2006 and win. We don't know. History, we can't repeat history or change history as the saying goes. But the Buffalo Sabres, think about this too. Darcy Regier, .570 winning percentage as a general manager. Muckler before that, .529. Gary Meehan, .528 winning percentages as general managers of the Buffalo Sabres. Kevyn Adams, 25 out of 32 in terms of winning percentage in the National Hockey League right now. Jason Botterill in 3 years, .434 winning percentage. Tim Murray in 4 seasons, .390 winning percentage. This is not going to get it done in Buffalo. That's why they're missing the playoffs 14 straight years. It's going to be 15 straight years. Something has to change in Buffalo. People can, hoot and holler at the return and complain about the return. You should see what Barry Trotz got for guys that he sent out the door too. Yaroslav Askarov being one of them out in San Jose. Turn wasn't the greatest. He's moved guys like Tomasino, Dante Fabro. He put him on waivers. So again, sometimes GMs are over their head. Kevyn Adams might be in over his head, but there is a culture problem in Buffalo. The losing has to stop. The losing cannot be accepted anymore. They have to be better, but they have to get decisions right. Maybe the best thing could be if Terry Pegula lets somebody else own the Buffalo Sabres to get things right, and he can focus in on the Buffalo Bills. Kevyn Adams, and you got to get off this hamster wheel of death too. I mentioned this on a Rob Peterson show. Losing teams in the NFL, losing teams in any sport are always on the hamster wheel of death because they never find the time to jump off. How many years are the Buffalo Sabres going to be in a constant rebuild? You can't be in a rebuild anymore. At some point, the team has to take the next step. Montreal Canadiens are doing that. Ottawa Senators are doing that. Detroit Red Wings have to do that. The Sabres have become irrelevant. They become the laughingstock of the National Hockey League. The general manager has to use his words better. The team has to be better. I said at the beginning of the year, the Canadiens had a better roster than the Buffalo Sabres. I knew Montreal was going to be better than Buffalo. I thought they could make the playoffs. They knew we were going to play meaningful games. They did. They're better than Detroit. Ottawa's there too. You have to get yourself a goaltender as well. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, is he the guy? Is Devin Levi the guy? We're going to have to find out. But Kevyn Adams has to make better business decisions and better hockey decisions for his team to be successful. Until that happens, until he learns from Jarmo Kekalainen about how to use his words, and maybe Jarmo Kekalainen is the next general manager if things don't start off the right way, as he is a senior advisor. You know, guys are replaceable in the National Hockey League. This could be, you know, the winding down of Kevyn Adams in Buffalo, though, as Mike Straw said, they might push him up to president of hockey operations, which would not be a good thing for the Buffalo Sabres because the infertility would just continue. But Kekalainen is there. Sometimes you hire a guy to fire a guy, and that could be the replacement if they decide to go in that direction with Adams. But he has to use his words better. The team has to play better, and they have to make better decisions, or else the Buffalo Sabres will continue to miss the playoffs, and they will become a joke, and that's bad for the National Hockey League. It's bad for business. You don't want a team missing the playoffs for 15 years, potentially 20 years. That's not good. Detroit, in a similar situation, could miss playoffs for a decade. That's not good look for the National Hockey League. Team has to turn it around, have to make better decisions, and it starts with Kevyn Adams, and it starts at the top with Terry Pegula. I'm Jim Biringer, Full Press NHL. Please, again, smash that notification button. Stay subscribed. Again, thank you to Hockey XP for sponsoring us as well. Like, comment below. Take care, and we'll be back again for another Rumors podcast and a weekly podcast real soon.